friends, Valeria here from Chase and Paper. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am making a video on 10 types of books to use in your junk journals. Now, why I decided to make this video? Because when I started junk journaling a few years ago, I would have found a video like that very helpful. I remember watching all different tutorials, and I remember seeing these gorgeous book covers and beautiful book pages in junk journals, but nobody ever said where it came from. So I remember finding myself in a thrift shop, standing completely lost and overwhelmed in the book section because I did not know what to look for. So we are going to go over the types of books that are perfect to use in your junk journals. And we are also going to talk about where to get these books and what to look for in a book when you're looking specifically for a book for junk journaling. And in case you are about to write down any of these great ideas, you don't need to do that because I actually have a list for you. I'm going to put the list out sometime towards the end of the video, and you will be able to take a screenshot. We're going to begin with number 1 on my list, which is Reader's Digest Condensed Books. So these are vintage books, and you can recognize them by their incredibly beautiful hardcovers. And goodness, they're just gorgeous. And there are so many different patterns, depending on the year of the edition. And inside, a lot of them have beautiful illustrations as well. So you might be able to use the cover as your junk journal cover, and you definitely don't want to miss out on lovely illustrations. And the paper in these books is just beautiful creamy white color. Some of them are lighter, some darker, but you know, that beautiful hue that you can't fake, that you can only find in vintage books. Look at this illustration, isn't that lovely? Number 2 on my list are nature guides and gardening books. So whenever you see a pocket guide, especially golden guides, I love finding those, make sure to pick up any of these books. The illustrations inside are simply gorgeous, and they come in such a great variety. So look at these beautiful, beautiful, lovely illustrations. This is a bird's one. Those are always good ones to be on the lookout for. You can cut out these illustrations and use in the collage in your junk journal. You can use them for making pockets, ephemera, inserts. And I have one example of a gardening book. So this one happens to be for vegetables and fruit. And of course, there are all different sorts of indoor plants, outdoor plants, flowers, roses. But look at the illustrations in these. Isn't that beautiful? There are so many wonderful opportunities to use this. And I usually try to look for books with, with hand-drawn illustrations rather than photographs. Like, look at this cauliflower or broccoli. Fruit, apples. Yep. Just wonderful, wonderful illustrations. So always make sure to be on the lookout for gardening books and nature guides. Number 3 on my list are little golden books. Now, you might be thinking, this is not my style. I don't really like making children's books, but hear me out. Little golden books are such versatile material. There are so many different kinds that I bet you at least one will speak to you. But even if they don't, and you see it at the yard sale or at the thrift shop, make sure to pick it up anyway, because even if you're not going to use the book itself, the covers on these are wonderful. So even if children's books and like kitschy cute 1950s and 60s aesthetic is not your style, that's okay, because you can make wonderful Victorian style journals out of it. Let me show what I mean. All right, well, you might recognize this junk journal as being made out of a little golden book. because I kept the cover and the story inside. You probably wouldn't figure out that this one was a little golden book as well. Now I'm still working on this journal, but I just want to give you an idea that this is also made out of a little golden book. And this one is also made out of a little golden book. So as you can see, the styles are very different, the aesthetic is very different in all of this. But I use the cover from the little golden book as a base for all three of these journals, and I do use them a lot. Now, little golden books are often found abused, torn, scribbled on with a marker or a crayon, and I just feel bad. I just want to rescue them all. I think they're such wonderful, neat little books that they deserve a second chance, and we are going to give it a second chance at a better life by turning it into a junk journal. So that was number 3, little golden books. Number 4 on my list is sheet music. Anytime you find any kind of sheet music, be sure to pick it up because you will find uses for it. It's beautiful in your collages. It's wonderful to use as paper in your junk journals. So anytime you can find any of these, and they come in all different sizes, just make sure to pick it up. Number 5 on my list, dictionaries. Dictionaries are wonderful. You can print pretty pictures right on a dictionary page. You can add them as book pages in your junk journal. You can find a word that goes with the theme of your journal and use it in a collage. So if you are able to find one of these, you probably don't need to buy another because this is going to last you a long time. Number 6 on my list are cookbooks. All right, so maybe you weren't thinking about cookbooks as junk journaling materials, but you'll be missing out if you don't use any because they have wonderful pictures inside. If you happen to find a holiday cookbook, those recipes and pictures would look beautiful in your Christmas themed junk journal. Same goes for Thanksgiving. We often associate food with the best events in our life. So I always try to include at least several cookbook pages and illustrations in each and every one of my junk journals. Now, these vintage cookbooks, while they have gorgeous illustrations, a lot of the recipes are quite outdated because we do not drown our meat in gelatin anymore, and we know better than using all that butter. And so we generally eat a lot healthier than we did in the 50s and 60s. There you go. Aforementioned gelatin. Number 7 on my list are vintage reader primers. Now, all of these are vintage readers for like elementary schools, and I love them because of their hard covers. That's a great material for you right there. They're usually and typically a good size to use as a hardcover in junk journal, and the illustrations in them are just wonderful. Also, they're perfect for word harvesting. What is word harvesting? It's basically picking out words, clipping them out, and then later on using them in your collages because the font is so big and easily readable. Now, another trick I learned, be on the lookout for the older ones because the cover on them doesn't look like much and you would easily overlook it, but the illustrations inside are also beautiful and colorful. Look at this one. So yeah, be sure to always be on the lookout for vintage primary readers. Number 8 on my list is the book category that I call skill books. All right, what are skill books? Basically, they are books that teach you a certain skill. They are how-to books. It could be craft books, sewing, embroidery, quilting, home decor. I think you get the idea. Basically, I love any of these books because of their wonderful illustrations. For example, this one is English Countryside Needlepoint, and you're going to see the illustrations in this are wonderful. So many wonderful possibilities here. You may want to apply some of these wonderful illustrations to the cover, or make pockets, or use it as pages in your junk journals. Lots of wonderful uses for these. So yeah, so that's a needlepoint book, country style sewing, and this one is also full of various patterns and pictures. And absolutely love these square little pictures because they make such perfect tuck spots and pockets and flip outs in your book, in your junk journal. This one is one of my favorite window fashions, so it has plenty of different curtains, and these are perfect to use. I actually make little windows and flip outs in a window shape in my journals by using cutouts from this book. So there you go. That is definitely something to look for. And we are nearing the end of my list. And number 9 on my list are coloring books. Yes, that's right. Coloring books are also a wonderful resource for your junk journals. It doesn't matter what coloring books you might have on hand or might come across. So this one is a bird's book. And this one here is Magical Mandalas. And these are still popular. I think they became popular a few years ago. And now you can always find unfinished mandala books at just about every yard sale. And they make beautiful journal pages. There's just something that inspires your creativity when you see the uncolored pattern in your junk journal. So it might inspire somebody to draw or to color. So definitely go ahead and pick up any of the coloring books that you can find. And number 10, the last item on my list is poetry and motivational quote books. This is also a broad category. And of course, poetry books range from beautiful antique books like this one. This one is titled Happiness, and I believe this one is from the late 1800s. And so I just wanted to show you and share what it looks like inside. Aren't these illustrations pretty? So it has beautiful flowers and poems. And it would be perfect for a Victorian junk journal. And it's also smaller in size, so you probably will be able to fit the page in without cutting anything off. So here's another one, also very small and tiny. There. And now this is also a vintage book, but it's much newer. This is from about 1970s. And it's called Little Bits of Wisdom. And it has tiny little poems and cute little illustrations as well to go with them. Now this one is much newer. This is from 2000s and it's Love Poems for Her. I'm glad I picked this one up because I just love the poems and illustrations in it. And I'll let you in on my little secret. So what I do with these smaller books with poems, I find the middle of the signature in them. And can you see those little threads in the middle right there? Well, if you take a tiny scissors or your craft knife and cut these threads, you will be able to take the pages out of the book without tearing them in the middle. And this way you can just bind them into your journal in the place that you like. And there you go. Did I tell you? That's also a poetry book. And I just love how it has this handwritten feel, which a lot of poetry books do. Quite a few of them use this format where there are like hand drawings and handwritten poetry. So make sure to open the book and see what's inside. Sometimes an unassuming cover hides a real gem inside. And these two books, they have motivational quotes in them, basically, or what I call motivational quotes. And these come from a dollar store. So even if you're not able to find any of these little books around, you can always check out maybe your Dollar Tree and find something like this. And these books basically have the same thing. They have wonderful motivational quotes inside. Usually they follow a different theme like love, friendship, faith. So this one is obviously has a faith theme, and this one has a love theme. And I used quite a few pages from this one already. So yeah, be on the lookout for these as well. Okay, so that was our number 10, which concludes our list. But I have another surprise for you. I wanted to share some bonus hints with you on what to be on the lookout for when you're book hunting. All right, friends, lo and behold, this is the holy grail of every junk journaling artist. The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. This is an Edith Holden book. If you never heard of Edith Holden, you are missing out. Edith Holden was a British artist and an art teacher, actually. Edith Holden books have the most beautiful watercolor illustrations and text to go with them. I just find it so inspirational. And I'll be honest, I did not find this book out in the wild. I bought it online. But if you're going to purchase any book online and going to splurge, this probably would be the book. So any Edith Holden book would do. There are several. This one is the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, and she has a couple others, and they all have beautiful illustrations in them. And number 2, Sears catalogs. They're vintage, but they're not antique. And because they're not antique, they're actually a much more affordable option, and you can find them quite often. And they're full of just illustrations that are just as beautiful as the actual antique illustrations. And because these are vintage and they were kind of printed on cheap paper, it's turned beautiful, warm color. So it just looks like the real thing at this point. And of course, I'm sure you will find many wonderful uses for these. And my last hint is vintage magazines. Okay, while technically not books, magazines provide a wonderful resource for junk journals. Anytime you see a vintage magazine, do yourself a favor and grab it, because you will not be sorry. You will find beautiful advertisements inside and articles that you would love to read. But I wanted to talk specifically about one of my favorites, and that's Ideals magazines. If you are not familiar with the world of Ideals, make sure to check them out. They are just chock full of wonderful, beautiful articles with great illustrations. So this is the newer one. And the older the magazines, the better, at least I find them better, are the illustrations. So it was a periodical publication, and they came with a different themes, like Mother's Day. So this one is a Mother's Day one. And this is an older one. So they have poems and pictures and hand drawings and all wonderful. There you go, a mother's prayer. So all the wonderful things in them. So Mother's Day, friendship, another Mother's Day, rustic ideals. So you might find country scenes here and some wonderful stories along with some beautiful illustrations. And Friendship Ideals magazine, Neighborly Ideals. There you go. You might be able to use it in any kind of journal that you're making. Valentine's Ideals, also some wonderful ones with love poems and pictures and illustrations and some family recipes. Christmas Ideals. I could go on forever, but I think you get the idea. If you see any of the Ideals magazines, be sure to pick that up. And now I just wanted to give you a word of caution. So maybe you found this book at the yard sale and maybe you paid 25 cents for it, so you know you didn't spend much, and you bring it home and you are ready to go to town and cut it up. Do yourself a favor and make a Google search first, because this particular book is actually worth hundreds of dollars. Apparently, it is very collectible and there is not too many of them left for sale. So that makes it very valuable and you probably don't want to cut that up. Same goes for this first edition of Miracle on 34th Street. Right? So always check your book. Now you probably already know how to check for first editions. You would open up your book and somewhere on the first page it will either state first edition or it will give you copyright. So if the copyright is only 1 year, like in this case 1947, there's a good chance that it's a first edition book, with some exceptions, of course, but most of the time that's a good rule of thumb to go by. So do check your books before cutting them up until you get more comfortable and you can kind of feel the value of the book that you purchased and that you're about to work with. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people feeling bad about cutting up books, and I'm one of them. But I truly believe that if we are upcycling that book and saving it from landfill, we're actually doing the book a favor, and it's a good deed. Most of the books that I find are in a pretty poor condition, and it is very likely that they're not going to be enjoyed anymore in their current state. So if we turn them into a junk journal and they give it a new life and a second chance at happiness, why not, right? I've had a lot of comments from people who bought my junk journals. They said that they're going to treasure them for years and they're hoping that they will become family heirlooms one day. So there you go. And they're made with unwanted vintage books that I found and rescued. And I bet you could do the same thing. So next time you're about to cut up a book, don't feel bad. Now I wanted to touch on the subject of where to find books. Right, so first of all, you will want to check at home. You might already have some books that you're not going to use and they're maybe not your favorites, and they just sitting there doing nothing, wasting space. Go ahead and look through your bookshelf and see what you can find. Next, you might want to ask family and friends, hey, do you have any sewing books that you're not using, crafts books, maybe an old dictionary or a vintage Reader's Digest? Most people will be happy to get rid of those because they just sit in there. Next, after you ask your friends and family, I would say the next stop would be your local estate sales, yard sales. People are often unloading books. Definitely do check out thrift shops. Now, another great source for finding books is your local library. No, I do not suggest that you should take a library book and turn it into a junk journal, but you should check your local library's website and see what they're doing with the books that they are getting rid of. Usually a library will have an annual sale, or they have some type of plan for getting rid of their books that are no longer fit to be in a library. As a last resort, you can always check for books online. Typically, I do not do that because it's the thrill of the hunt for me. I love finding books out in the wild. But if there is a certain book I want and I can't find it, then by all means, check out eBay, Etsy, maybe Amazon, and I bet you will find some good used books. Oftentimes, if you buy a lot, like a bundle of books, it costs close to nothing, especially if they're not in a great condition, which you probably don't care about anyway because you are going to use it for junk journal. And so there you go, my friends. Here is the list that we talked about. Here are all the books on this list. I'm going to move my hands away so that you can take a screenshot. Hopefully next time you're at the garage sale or a thrift shop, you're going to pull that up and this will remind you what kind of books to look for. There you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it sparks your creativity and hopefully gives you some ideas on what kind of books to be on the lookout for. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. And I can't wait to see you next time for more fresh paper crafting and junk journaling ideas. Thank you so much. See you next time.